In Hartford, a good Wednesday morning to you. A special edition of Greasy Tracks today as we spotlight the band Jupiter Coyote, initially hailing from Macon, Georgia, later calling Brevard, North Carolina home. They have a new album out called Life Got in the Way. We'll be hearing from each member of the band, playing music from across their catalog, as the next 4 hours are nothing but something completely different here for a chilly Wednesday morning. We're going to go back to the album Lucky Day. Start things off with a track called Breckenridge. Phone number here in studio 860-297-2450. Do stay tuned.
parking lot, and she's worried about my gig much more than I'll ever be. It's a shame that she don't get it. She Texas, rides life like a prize bull. He's been thrown off a time or two, but he always lands on his feet. Now he's somewhere down in Florida, listening to Bob Marley. There were days when we were toting the same, yet I swore he had it all figured out. Are we on some downward turn of an evolutionary crash and burn, falling straight from the sky on a bed that we send there? Me, Mr. Gravity, he always seems to have his hands on me, falling straight from the sky on a bed that we send there. Well, on a bed that we send there. 15 minutes attention span. 15 minutes attention span. Balanced on the highway, ain't this here life a circus show? Balanced on the highway, ain't no safety net down below. Yes, I don't look down. 30 minutes attention span. 30 minutes attention span. Balanced on the highway, ain't this here life a circus show? Balanced on the highway, ain't no safety net down below. Yes, I don't look down. It's a shame how I die there. It's a shame how I live. Are we on some downward turn of an evolutionary crash and burn, falling straight from the sky on a bed that we send there? Mean Mr. Gravity, he always seems to have his hands on me, falling straight from the sky on a bed bed that we send in, alone a bed that we send
in. Primary songwriter for Jupiter Coyote, Matthew Mays, joins us on Greasy Tracks. Latest album out is Life Got in the Way from Coyote. They got their start down in Macon, Georgia, and today loosely called Brevard, North Carolina home. Matthew, thanks so much for taking some time today.
Sure, no problem.
A long time between the Hillary step in 2004 and Life Got in the Way. And as I guess the title suggests, Life Got in the Way, but Coyote is back, and by the way, this album sounds back with a vengeance.
Yeah, pretty excited about it. We took a little break. You know, we all had kids, families, decided to get off the road for a while when all of them were little. That was kind of a group decision. Got a new album out, doing some cherry-picking touring, and things are going pretty well.
You continued to obviously write, record a number of solo things, some side projects. Coyote never officially went away. It was just maybe off stage for a while, but I think the fan base remained. Your output continued to be steady, and writing has gone along as usual. What was the impetus to getting the band back together again and recording?
Well, you're right. And, you know, during that break, I made 2 solo records, and then Gene and Meyer and I made 4 albums with a side project called The Raffin Trail, which is kind of more of a proggy type thing, really. Got my home studio built, really started fooling around with, you know, the digital age and home recording. Everybody's got home studios pretty much. So it, I kind of fell out. I never really got out of it. I was doing some other things, but I never stopped writing or recording. Some of that material got called back for Coyote stuff from down the road. Some of it we redid, re-recorded. But yeah, it never really went away. We just took a break from touring.
I told them all goodbye, standing in my drive. And my high school summer faded into my 4-year ride. In no time I was on that pine, sidelined with a busted knee, wondering if I should have been chasing down a different dream. And all those might have been in grandiose plans hurt less and seem to fade. Life gets in the way. Sometimes life gets in the way. Me and a couple of my friends, we piled in an old Ford van, running down the lines on the road that they pave. Just trying to be here now and grateful for another day. And right where I need to be, he's watching over me. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Don't let life get in the way. Don't let life get in the way. Don't let life get in the way. Don't let life get in the way.
When we look back at the birth of this band, Macon, Georgia was where things started coming together. Obviously, the home away from home, or the unofficial home of the Allman Brothers. But around that time, between Macon and Athens, there were a lot of bands that were coming up when you guys were coming up. Two that come to mind, All Good and Widespread Panic, were on the rise at around the same time that you guys were coming up. That whole southern Georgia base of a lot of cool bands that were coming up. Did you guys see much of each other in those days? Did your paths cross much?
We did a lot. We called it the East Coast family. There were a couple other groups that were in there too. We were all kind of playing the same club circuit at first when we started out. Gosh, even bands like Hootie and the Blowfish and Edwin McCain. Trying to think, there was a Beanland, which one of the guys in that band went on to play with Widespread JoJo, and then George McConnell, who was in that band, playing guitar with him for a while.
Right.
So yeah, we crossed. We played a bunch of shows with Widespread in the early days. We played a lot of them with All Good. All Good was kind of our brother band on the road. Loved those guys. We were pretty close with them.
Coyote gained a reputation as a bunch of real hardcore road dogs. You guys literally did thousands and thousands of shows. I would say on the road 300-plus days a year at the height of things, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, there were years that we did 275 shows. I know there was about a 2 or 3 year stretch where we were on the road 300 days a year.
When you're young and hungry, you can do it, but at some point, do you start hitting the wall with that kind of mileage that you're putting in and playing literally almost every day?
Yeah, it really touring became a drudgery. It was, we were gone so much. I mean, you can do it too much, and I think we were spreading ourselves too thin. Even when we took our break, Chris, we had logged thousands and thousands of shows. So it was, we needed some rest. I just think guys were shot out from the road. The Hillary stuff, it was hard to get everybody together. I don't think anybody really wanted to be there. And it was just time to step away from it, at least the touring side of it for a while, and do some other things, concentrate on, none of us wanted to shirk our responsibilities as dads. We had about 7 kids in the band, all of them around the same age. And you don't get those years back. No one wanted to miss it. We were doing okay on the road. We made a decent living, but we had to stay out there 220 or 30 nights a year to do it. And dragging a family on the road with you the way we were doing it, it's just no place to do it. It was a lot of all one-nighters, 300 to 500 mile drives between them. It was some brutal hauling. It's no place to try to drag a family along, not for a long stretch of time.
Going through Kansas where there's nowhere to hide. Man keeps circling like a hawk in the sky. St. Louis on St. Patrick's Day. Oh, whistling into Memphis sometime Friday. Nobody notices when he goes by. Got a hole in his shoe and a tear in his eye. You never stop. still searching for that Rocky Mountain High. Who's really working? Who's really playing? Are some just milking the trust fund dry? Nobody notices when he goes by. Got a hole in his shoe and a tear in his eye. Could never stop. Yeah, tumbleweed keeps on riding the western wind. Tumbleweed, he don't talk much about where he's been. Tumbleweed, won't you take me along for that ride? Tumbleweed, I said, my, how time flies by. Yeah. He had a vision, he was down for on me, watching water pull with that rusty wheel. And he lost a sweet girl, Miss Richard Hodges. And the longing man goes on pilgrim masses, yeah. Nobody notices when he goes by. He had a hole in his shoe and a tear in his eye. He'll never stop. Yeah, tumbleweed keeps on riding the western wind. Tumbleweed don't talk much about where he's been. Tumbleweed, won't you take me along for that ride? Tumbleweed, I said, my, how time flies by. I said, my, how time flies by. I said,
is now part of the band. We're joined from Macon, Georgia by Jupiter Coyote guitarist John Meyer. John, thank you so much for the time, and congratulations on a great new album.
Well, thanks. I sure appreciate it, and we appreciate the interest y'all have in us up there.
Well, I'll tell you, you guys did so much road work over the years. There was no way that somebody couldn't have seen you at some point in some club, theater, or festival somewhere in the continental United States. So thousands and thousands of shows later, there was Jupiter Coyote DNA somewhere in some part of this country that everybody got, I think, touched by at some point and has probably passed on tapes and other things over the years. So the music continues to live on, and you guys have had a resurgence lately with the latest album. But curiously, John, you were not in the band in the beginning, but you knew a lot of these guys. You were there in Macon, obviously, when they started forming, and you gave them their name. What do you remember about the early days of before they were Jupiter Coyote?
Well, they were actually just started out as the Rockafellas, and I had been on the road before that back in the 80s. They were real green to things at that point in time, but I was good friends with the bass player, and he and I were actually in another band down here, a punk band, believe it or not, called Peck.
Okay.
And so anyway, but Ned, the bass player, I met them through it. As it turns out, they were just starting up on the fraternity circuit down here. I mean, gosh, I'd hate to guess how many shows they were, doing as far as that goes. But anyway, I actually started running sound with them, and I did that for about a year, and then I finally got to where I was kind of tired of the road, and I've got married and settled down and went to the corporate world and did all that. They decided to keep going on, and as far as the name goes, well, this is radio, so I better be careful. Well, you'd have to do a super-duper edit with this one, but anyway, I had, Mays had purchased a little 8-track recording unit, and I think after a few cocktails or something one night, I got a hold of that. I actually went to recording school, so I was into that. Anyway, I got on it, started doing some ad-lib stuff, and hence popped out the word Jupiter Coyote, and it was something else to the end of that, but we won't discuss that. But just pure kind of Zappa-ass silliness,
right?
To make a long story short. Well, finally, like I say, we did that. I got off the road with them. Then one day, oh gosh, probably a year later, something like that, Matt calls up one day and said, "Meyer," and I said, "What?" And he said, "Man, do you mind if we use the term Jupiter Coyote for a name?" And, of course, my first response was, "Why?" It was a dirty song.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Well, it just sort of stands out, this, man." He made his pitch, and I was like, "Well, sure." I said, I don't think that'll hurt anything. I said, I don't know how that'll work, but, as it turned out, of course, they did a patent search or whatever for it, trademark, and obviously that he ran into no trouble at all.
Right.
And that's how it kind of started from there. So I'm just glad I was able to contribute at that point in some way anyway.
Which way is the table finally turned? You're taking me all around before. Your eyes, they give me the warning. I can't see the forest for the trees anymore. Some changes in my life. Some things we did, we do no more. Maybe we have lost something worth finding. If others not worth looking for. My situation never changes. Situation mine stays the same. My situation. Maybe we have lost something worth finding. Something I was looking for. Maybe we have lost something worth finding. Something I was looking for. Maybe we have lost something worth finding. Something I was looking for. Maybe we have lost something worth finding. Something worth finding. Let's hope to give tomorrow a situation never changes. Situation mine stays the same. My situation never changes. Situation mine stays the same. My situation.
We're joined by Jupiter Coyote founding member, guitarist, songwriter, and now one of North Carolina's best concert promoters from Brevard, North Carolina, John Felty. John, thank you for taking some time to share some thoughts and insights on the Coyote days.
Yeah, you bet.
You and Matt go way, way back, grade school, high school, so on and so forth. You guys grew up together, started playing together. The first real formation was the Rockafellas when you guys started going out and playing live, recording.
Yep.
And for better and or for worse, things change, they grow, they expand. Jupiter Coyote comes along. A guy named Johnny Sandlin comes along. Let's go back to some of those early days, those transition days from Rockafellas to JC.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think to kind of predicate Johnny Sandlin, when Matt and I, the plan was, Chris, that we were all just going to do this for a year, right? We were going to take a year, play the college circuit in the Southeast, and then all return to pursue, quote unquote, real jobs, right? And was approaching that year mark, and I graduated from college, and I told my dad I would be back. It was a classic story, right? Kid goes to college, graduates from college, works for dad. Dad retires in 10 years. Son takes over business. That was sort of the plan there. But when we started writing tunes and introducing them into the show and getting a positive response, we hit that 10-year mark or 10-month mark, and Matt and I were sitting around probably with some cold drinks in our hands, and I just looked at Matt like, man, you know what? I don't want to look back 10 years and say, God, I wish we'd have done this. And that was the moment that we knew we were all in for as long as we could. So we did. And at that point, that's when we were introduced to Johnny Sandlin, for sure. And for me, growing up as a Southern music fan, I mean, certainly influenced by Marshall Tucker and Leonard Skinner and Allman Brothers, for sure, to have Johnny interested or accepting of our project in the beginning was just kind of one of those moments where, okay, this is real. We've really got something. A guy like Johnny Sandlin is interested in this band. We must be doing something right. That was just kind of the stamp, kind of the just more fuel to the fire, so to speak, Chris. It was profound. It was surreal, and just what a wonderful human being he was, man. I mean, he was so supportive of us. It allowed us to pursue what we wanted to do with even more confidence than we already had.
Years ago, a child's brown eyes stared at the mantelpiece, wondered how the ship got in the bottle. When he tried to find the answers, nobody would tell him, and the ship just sat there in the bottle. Yesterday, a man's brown eyes stared at the mantelpiece, stared at the ship in the bottle. The corners of his eyes teared when at last he realized he was sailing in the bottle. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle, with no salt upon my pitch, wind in my sails. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle. Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? 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 Ship in the bottle never gets to run ashore. It sits there on the mantelpiece like it sat there years before. But no cargo in its hulls, no silver and gold, no leeward winds against my skin, no cannons to reload. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle, with no salt upon my pitch, wind in my sails. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle. Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? Still I wish and search for strength to set my spirits free. Take that dream on the mantelpiece and sail it on the sea. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle, with no salt upon my pitch, wind in my sails. And I'm sailing on that ship in the bottle. Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? Could there be a storm brewing up ahead? Could there be a storm brewing up ahead?
We still had a ways to go as musicians, and at that point, we hadn't necessarily been an original band all that long. You know, I mean, as you alluded to, we sort of migrated out of the cover scene knowing that had a definite feeling on it in terms of where we could take this thing. And so we hadn't been together or hadn't been an original band all that long. Johnny really forced us to not just focus on our musicianship, but also, you know, songwriting. At the end of the day, it's all about great songs. That's what Johnny tried to focus on, and focus on the grooves. And he was just a great mentor in allowing us to find our own sound, our own voice, but also just get better as a band. And was so supportive, and that was so important, I think, at that time.
Modern Creek was born in the mountains, water of life, nurtured the flames, little dry, Indian summer, native brothers
Matthew Mays joins us this afternoon from Jupiter Coyote. We look back at the first handful of albums that you guys did, honing your studio sound. Obviously, that live sound developed over the years, but you guys worked very closely with Johnny Sandlin, a well-regarded engineer and producer who had done, came up with the Capricorn family, basically working with the Allmans, Widespread, Colonel Bruce, and others. What was Johnny's mark that he made with you guys? How did he get you guys together in the studio? What did he do that was maybe a little bit different or tweaking you guys just right on those first few albums?
Well, I can certainly tell you without a blink. First of all, Johnny Sandlin was one of the greatest people I ever met. A big man, just a gentle giant. One of the kindest people you would ever meet in your life. He was also the drummer in Hourglass.
Right.
So he knew all those guys came from. He had that studio there in Decatur, Alabama, a place called Duct Tape Sound. All kinds of bands recorded there. We did our first 3 albums with Johnny: Junkyards, Wade, and Lucky Day. So we learned everything that we knew from the recording aspect of really mixing from the bottom up from Johnny. And one day on the first album, we were in there, and I think we were working on Willow, which was about a 14-minute song, if I recall. It was longer than one reel of tape. Might have been 16 because we couldn't get it all on one reel. And we were working through the early part of the track with it, and Johnny said this, and I can quote him. He said, guys, there's nothing wrong with jamming. Just make it go somewhere. And I'll never forget that. Basically what he was saying, don't be noodling and jamming just for the sake of doing it. Your songs are too good. Try to make them go somewhere. So he really kind of corralled our loose ends and tied it all together, kind of pointed us in a direction of what he thought we were best at. He told us to pay a lot of attention to our singing and our harmony, and he thought we had some well-written songs. And he really did. He just kind of molded us into a tighter, less loose unit. It took about 3 albums to do that. I mean, we still managed to make a 18-minute and a 23-minute song on a Lucky Day.
Right.
We had some long songs. I think that's kind of what he was worried about.
Yeah, because when you look at the Amoruses, the Lucky Days, Sam Clemens, Willow, certainly, I mean, there's a lot of commitment in those, and you can get lost in them, as you say, if you don't stay focused, but each of them builds, especially in the live setting, each of them builds. It has definite parts to it, and it's not just mindless noodling. And there's a time and a place for mindless noodling, but that's when you start heading to the bar many times because it gets too mindless and too much noodling.
Right, and it was trying to, use the dynamic, use different musical sections of those long-winded songs, change them like there's multi-parts in a lot of those that are almost like a completely different song within a song. Yeah, he kind of pointed us in that direction, too. He didn't want people to lose interest in what we were doing because we just got too long-winded.
Yeah, because songs like that could be a real turnoff, especially studio versions.
Yeah, it can. And when you got everybody that can solo, I mean, you just don't want 15 minutes of self-indulgent guitar solos. I mean, that's great for a song, but you don't need a whole album full of them, especially not when we had all these other songs. Like, y'all got just a pile of stuff. So we kind of just put a little bit of all of it on there. And Johnny was just fantastic to work with. We learned a ton from him. He really, really helped us. We were just young kids when we started him. Didn't know our butt left field. And I can't thank him enough for taking the time. And I'm sure he got frustrated with us sometimes. But we were a young band just trying to find our way. He really tidied it up for us. He was a bass player too, so he was all about the bottom up, making sure that the drums and the bass were locked in. He was just a real joy to work with. Really was. Through technology changes with him. We know we were on tape, and then we moved to ADAT, and into the digital age.
Right.
Lucky Day with Johnny, he was kind of rolling with the times, and we were all figuring out how to record in that format together. Did the first couple of Widespread records.
I was going to say those. I think some of Widespread's best material was the stuff that Johnny was behind the board for.
Yeah, probably was. He had a real gift, Chris. He was one of a kind.
The wise one once said to young Willow, take to the earth, not to the wind. And you'll be lonely when you're older. Yourself to blame for the fix you're in. Oh yeah. Now Willow, he could never listen. He had to know the reasons why. Too far gone to change his thinking. Never turned his head when he said goodbye. Oh yeah. Why is Willow weeping? Longing for what he left behind. Does he feel like his life is creeping? Sometimes on that place he can never for years he danced out on the wind. Never once would he lay his head. He never called out to his lover. What she did not hear, he never said. Soon the season started to yearning. He dug his roots in southern clay. Too numb to fire and feel like burning. I guess he found his resting place. Oh yeah. Why is Willow weeping? Longing for what he left behind. Does he feel like his life is creeping? On that place he can never find. confusing, but today it's clear as the bell. I spend my time writing the readings that will one day surely tell my tale. So lay your head back down on your pillow and take a walk down on Southern Plain, where I'll be there under that willow, waiting for you, baby, when you away. Oh yeah. Why is willow weeping, longing for what he left behind? Does he feel like his life is creeping on that place he can never find? Bailes conmigo noche a mi amor. Bailes conmigo noche y noche, mi amor. Bailes conmigo noche a mi amor. Bailes conmigo noche y noche, mi amor. Why is Willow weeping? Why is Willow weeping?
We're joined by bassist Sanders Brightwell. He is down in Atlanta. You came aboard the band after the initial album was released, and...
Right, I came in. Ned was leaving, I guess he told them, the summer of 92.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was playing with Blue Groove in Athens, Georgia, where I went to school.
And that was kind of a funk outfit, right?
No, it was a blues rock kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a jammy blues rock thing. I mean, we weren't very long-lived. But anyway, I found out Ned was leaving, and I called Matt. I said, I'd like to rehearse if you're looking for a bass player. So I did. I don't know how many basses they rehearsed, but, I mean, they had come in, but I got the gig, and that was in November of 92.
And you were obviously aware of this band. Had you seen them?
We had played with them.
Oh, you had? Okay. All right,
yeah,
so you'd shared the stage with them, and you knew them basically.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like stepping into something that was completely foreign as far as what they were doing.
No, not at all.
What were your impressions of the band of Jupiter Coyote when you were not a member? What did you think of them? Their sound?
Gosh, it was so long ago. Well, I liked that they were all original, and they were kind of like this mid-tempo groove rock. But I always thought they were missing something. They just didn't quite have that. They were missing something.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that when I came on board, I added to it. I mean, I did.
Oh, you certainly did.
You know, they just needed to move into a third, fourth, fifth gear, which wasn't happening at the time. But as the lineup progressed through the 90s, I feel like especially with the culmination of Steve Trisman on fiddle, that was kind of like the last missing piece.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
For us musically, and that was kind of gelled into to what we sound like now.
But that sound was a lot fuller. If you look at Wade and Lucky Day, as far as studio releases go, the first album was fine, but the second and third, when we got into the Wade and Lucky Day era of the band, it was a fuller, brighter, warmer sound, perhaps, if that's a good way to describe it. But there was definitely a departure.
Oh, totally. I mean, when you have different... Gene moved to the kit.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Trevitt resigned. Gene was on congas, but he really is the drummer first and foremost, a kit drummer. So that changed, and that, he's kind of a pretty dynamic player, not taking anything away from Matt Trevitt, but just a different, more powerful sound, really.
Oh, he was. Roll up the sleeves, as I describe it, a meat and potatoes drummer. Just, he'll grab you by the throat and shake you, and he's not going to do it in a nice way, a finesse way, like a cordon bleu chef drummer like Noel Felty would do it, with a little bit more style and maybe wear a uniform. But Gene's going to come in there with just grab you.
And he still plays that way.
Mm-hmm.
Still plays that way. So, and then I added my little twist to it, and there wasn't a lot of jamming going on within the group prior to our stepping into those roles, I don't think. And then it just that's kind of what my scene, where I kind of came from. And we all enjoy doing that. It's not that every tune lends itself to that. They certainly don't. But a lot of our music does. So that was freeing for me. I think it freed up our sound to kind of evolve in it.
sun's burning rays. There's a toxic playground where my children play. Or the greedy, selfish master, he takes us all away. Berries on the vine, they are dying. People giving up without trying. Now it's all over but the cry. Oh, man, tequila say it's a blue agave day. Sing your soul in the Bible for and take it out your high. It's a blue agave day. Another day, and I hit the bottom of the bottle. Old man tequila say it's a blue agave day. Another day, and I hit the bottom of the bottle. Old man tequila say it's a blue agave day. Yeah.
Drummer Gene Bass joins us from Jacksonville, Florida. One of the founding members of Jupiter Coyote took some time off from the band and is back in the fold now. Their latest album is Life Got in the Way. Good to hear, Gene. Again, you back in the band, a dual drummer setup now. Talk a little bit about that, playing with Noel Felty and how you guys approach the music now. It's Coyote with a twist, kind of.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's great playing with Noel. Probably the first couple of rehearsals and gigs, we were finding our way a little bit. And, try not to, hey, check this lick out, check this lick out. Well, I can do this, and not getting it in each other's way. And we've really found a nice little path we're on right now, I think. Noel's a monster player, and I love playing with him. And I don't know, I think I try to hold down the fort and let him paint with a big brush.
Yeah, because I always thought of Noel as kind of the finesse. You were more the meat and potatoes, roll up the sleeves and just lock it in. But Noel had a little bit more of I'm not sure what it exactly is.
His upbringing, he really dug more of the jazz fusion stuff.
Right.
And I dug a lot of that stuff too. But you're right. I'm more of a meat and potatoes guy, as you put it. I mean, as much as I love J-Mo, I'll probably play a little more like Butch.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking. You more in the Butch role. And, you look back at Noel with the Aquarium Rescue Unit and things like that. It's definitely more of that funk fusion jazz. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but we certainly have a different approach with the overall sound. But it works, and that's the cool thing.
It does work.
This has been an interesting band. You were there from the early days. You're back now 27, 28 years later since Coyote officially formed. But it sounds like with the energy on this latest album, I'm tracing it back to Lucky Day, Wade, things like that. Really tight and a lot of energy. What is your point of view on this one?
In some ways, I mean, the songs came from Matt. I mean, he's always been the principal songwriter. But the new twist was John Meyer in the band. Mm-hmm. They've found a little spark writing together. John's got a little more harder edge, I guess you could say, to his playing. I can't wait for you to see him live. He's really a monster player.
And John was there from the beginning, but never took that step to officially be in the band, correct? He was a sound man for the band. He actually came up with the name Jupiter Coyote, believe it or not. And he and I grew up together. We've known each other since
I guess 1977, and we've honestly been playing together in bands since we were however old, 13, 14 years old. So there's something there where he kind of knows what I'm fixing to do before I do it, and I can do the same thing with him. Mm-hmm. Even with the break from the band, I mean, none of us stopped playing. I've continued to play all these years too, and we've always kept in touch.
Well, there ain't nothing rocking around this town. There ain't a damn thing to do. There ain't a good job around here to be found. They outsourced all those too. I got 600 horses under the hood. So baby, won't you step inside? Go grab your cash stash and your mama's 38 and tell your method daddy goodbye. Grab the devil by his horns. It's gonna be a hell of a ride. Just a couple of hillbilly hoodlums, redneck Bonafide. Slowing down in the mountain town, fuel's getting a little bit low. Go grab some sundrop and 3-piece chicken, make sure you get it to go. Hey baby, you drive, I'll be right back, and you're the finest thing I know. I got a sack full of 20s, a bottle of Calvert, just a burning rubber down the road. Grab the devil by his horns, it's gonna be a hell of a ride. Just a couple of hillbilly hoodlums, redneck Bonafide. In the old mountain cabin, just making love to you all day. Now the FBI and the K-9 units heading up my driveway. With the gunshots ringing, we're going down swinging, baby. Let's give them a show. If it's the end of the line, we'll cross it together. What a lovely way to go. I said, what a lovely way to go. Grab the devil by his horns, it's gonna be a hell of a ride. Just a couple of hillbilly hoodlums, redneck Bonafide. I said redneck Bonafide. Redneck Bonafide.
Well, you and John Felty had a great relationship on stage with that. The same relationship you have, albeit a little bit of a different style that John Meyer brings right now, but bouncing off each other when it comes to when you're playing the Gijo.
Yeah, you know what was really cool about the Gijo is it worked so well with Felty's slide playing. He's a great slide player, and so is John Meyer, an excellent slide player. Yeah, they're different. You know, the first thing about Meyer is that he tunes in an open D, and it's not even really a true D tuning. I've never seen anyone tune like him. So he gets a different tonal quality to hit not only his guitar playing, he's a little harder rock, heavier player, but he gets a little bit different sound on his slide. When you interview him, make sure you ask him about his tuning and how he learned to do that as a kid, because it's really unique. I've been around some phenomenal guitar players, and in my opinion, he's one of the best ones I've ever seen, from top to bottom. I mean, as far as just being able to shred, play country, play grass, play slide, and he does it all in that bizarre tuning. So guitar players, when they watch him, they're like, good gracious, what is he doing?
Throw Steve Trisman in that on fiddle, and you've got a real gumbo of sound there that really locks itself in. Nobody's overshadowing anybody, and they complement each other very nicely. And then you have the bottom, of course, with your drummers, whether it be Noel or Gene or both of them, and then Sanders, of course, on that bass.
Yeah, you got everybody in the band can solo. So you've got we try to weave it, not step on each other, and create enough space for each other to play. A lot of stuff going on. But yeah, when Trisman got in there with me and Felty and even Meyer and that Genjo, it was real easy for us to drop into that ripping progressive bluegrass stuff that a lot of those southern jam bands really couldn't play that stuff like we did. Still can. It kind of still sets us apart.
Time buckets on the road, and your faith-based fuel's running low. When you broke it down, busted up at the end of a gravel road. It's like a country road in Texas, covered in gravel and oil, and it's so damn hot you can feel your sweat boil. Yeah, in time, yeah, it stands still at the end of the gravel road. Preacher stole your last quarter, and then he pitched it in the well, and he left you with a tray at the buffet of life's living hell. Yeah, so you think you're headed to purgatory? Yeah, right. Oh man, you're already there. You got a pitchfork resting in your hands and a halo in your hair. Yeah. In time, yeah, it stands still at the end of the gravel road. Show your scars, and a man's gotta tend his territory. He keeps his head down to the stone. He keeps his powder dry, his friends near, and his words close to the bone. In time, yeah, it stands still at the end of the gravel road. buckets on the road. There ain't much further you can go when you're broken down, busted up at the end of a gravel road. It's just a few more miles away. When you get there, if you don't know what to say, just watch those trees, swallows fly, rest your soul where rebel bones lay. In time, yeah, stand still at the end of the gravel road. In time, yeah, stand still at the end of the gravel road. In time, yeah, stand still at the end of the gravel road. Yeah, nobody down
Steve Trisman joins us today. Steve, you are the late addition to the band, for lack of a better way to term it, but if we were making a big pot of gumbo, you bring some interesting ingredients to the sound mix, bringing the fiddle into the fold of the band. Gives the band an extra tool in the toolbox. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that'd be fair. I'm sort of leaning into the C word there and trying to bring some of the country side of it. Of course, I'm sort of stuck there because I play the fiddle. Try to get as rock as I can. I'm not really going to get to the rock place that those guys are at.
No, certainly not. And I think that's part of the beauty of the whole complexity of the puzzle that is Jupiter Coyote. Different stylistic followings for each of the guys. The guitar players are doing one thing. Matt is certainly into some different stuff, more of some of the great banjo and country western and bluegrass players. You got another guitarist who was into Led Zeppelin and Leonard Skinner. Gene Bass, who was more of the roll up the sleeves, meat and potatoes drumming, and then Noel, who was more of a finesse jazz style, and Saunders, who had a kind of a funk background, for lack of a better term. So I don't think there's anything right or anything wrong when you look at what everybody brings to the table.
Yeah, you just try to keep listening and try to make it fit somehow.
Now, this band on stage is a whole lot different from the studio group, and I don't even want to compare the two because you really can't. The albums are the albums. Maybe it's a kind of a snapshot of what you're going to get on stage, but a live show can really unfold into a lot of different things, especially when you guys start going off on tangents, getting into jams. Take us to the stage a little bit and what your role is there and what you see kind of unfolding next to you.
Well, I'm trying to stay within the groove, and sort of be the underneath that makes the solos sound better. Guitar's got most of the solo work going on. But otherwise, I get my spaces to come out and solo away. But really, the focus is to kind of keep the underlying motion going. And then you're just trying to listen for the spots where you can sort of take off and see if anyone follows. There's a lot of improvisation going on, but there's a lot of form, too, that we're trying to keep it together.
The fiddle, though, does add some interesting color to the sound, whether it's a supporting role.
You hit the note.
Yeah.
Hit the note and it can keep going.
Right.
Or decay, you have the choice, whereas guitar, your only sustain is going to come from your electronics. Yeah, it's just a different sound. I think, thank God they let me do it.
Yeah, right. Yep, you could always just be busking on a corner somewhere, as they say.
Like that, too.
And that certainly has its time and its place.
Train this morning, she ran a little late. Filled with people, don't know love from hate. Time stole their lives away. There's nothing left to do but play. And boy, you're headed the wrong way. The rain was falling, we couldn't budge the ground. Clouds rolling without a sound. No matter what your daddy say, there's nothing left to do but play. And boy, you're headed the wrong way. The dream is there and then it's gone. Your memory lies and it pulls you on. Caught by something bigger than this stone. People become shadows, then that stranger there used to be your friend. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Someday you'll have to face yourself alone. Shadows, then that stranger there used to be your friend. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Then you'll have to face yourself alone. Someday you'll have to face yourself alone.
We're back with Noel Felty, one of the drummers from Jupiter Coyote.
I've always listened to every instrument on stage, and I key for certain elements that inspire me all night on stage that I play off of. I don't, Sanders is a fantastic bass player, but by all means, I don't listen to him all night long. I mean, if Mays is in the middle of doing something that is, or Meyer or Trisman or, whatever they're going in solo directions or whatever, I'm going to lock in and focus with them so that I can help push them into whatever direction they're going, to be able to complement and have that kind of dynamic on stage where we're actually all working off each other together. Music is such an organic thing. I think as a player, no matter what instrument you're on stage, whether it's a bass player or whether it's a singer or whether it's a guitar player, blah, 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 you have to be able to hone in and listen to everybody on stage. If you can't, you're either selfish or
ignorant.
or ignorant. There you go. That's the best way to put it, because things only work well when they're all working together to be able to hear everything.
Jupiter Coyote live, you're going to get a couple of 3 or 4 minute tunes, but you're also going to get some of their 15, 18, 20 minutes long. There are some prog elements as well to what Coyote brings to the stage, and the quote-unquote jam band phenomenon characteristics as well, where things can happen mid-song and suddenly you're going down a different pathway. Somebody pulls something out of their back pocket and now you're heading over in this direction, or teasing with something else. So there's a lot going on, and it's keeping 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 balls in the air at one time.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about Jupiter Coyote, from just being a musician that likes all different styles of music. Yeah, there were years where I was a musical snob with the jazz and the fusion, but I just love good music. Any style is as long as it's done well. My CD collection goes from rap to George Jones country to Vince Gill to My Vishnu Orchestra, so on and so forth. But if it's good music, I always will turn an ear to it. And that's the one thing about Jupiter Coyote. I think the thing about them that I like so much is that they stay accessible. I've been that guy in the audience that's gone to see a show when maybe I hadn't learned enough musically yet, where the band's taking off. It's stuff that I don't hear, I don't understand, melodies that don't make sense. As a listener, you have to educate yourself to understand what you're hearing. And definitely jam bands or jazz bands that used to go off into those directions that would leave me behind until I studied harder. The beautiful thing about Jupiter Coyote is it's a song-oriented band first. There are elements of jam in that, but there are strong songs with strong melodies and strong hooks all night long. So there's kind of something for everybody. There's something there for somebody who's a musician and just wants to watch some musicians get off on stage, which that's me for most of the time when I go see a band. But there's also something there for somebody that loves lyrics and just loves a good song. And there's a lot of that there.
North Carolina, I-40 West, it was the 29th of July. A ray of hope with a Wisconsin tag, she gave a look and she went by. But she vanished up on my horizon, like they always seem to do. If there's a trick to understanding my life, well, I haven't got a clue. I said I hadn't got a clue. Well, I'm sitting on the curb of the Blind Tiger with a couple of my old friends. Said all my tunes were sounding sad. Was I finally giving in? I said no one out there in that crowd will understand about the sacrifice. All of the things worth having, she seemed to have a lofty price. She seemed to have a lofty price.
We're spotlighting the words and music of Jupiter Coyote, the insight from members of the band. We're joined by John Felty, founding guitarist, songwriter, vocalist, and a guy that was there through the formative years of the band. John, as far as songwriting goes, everybody does it in their own way. Some people are able to do it on the road, some aren't. How do you guys put things together? I know Matt, writes the bulk of the tracks, but how do things come together, best of your memories of those days when you guys are basically cranking out an album or two a year, sometimes 2 albums in every 3 years or so, but you guys were quite prolific in the studio, not only writing and putting out, tight 4 or 5 minute, 3 to 5 minute tracks, but also the expanded tracks, the ones that jam out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of writing goes, and it's true, Matt is one of those people. He's prolific. He always had a knack for words, and, those words came from the core. They weren't stories that were made up. Some of them were inspired. Some of them were stories, but they were inspired by real experiences and real feelings and emotions, introspective of the existential you in this life that we're living. And it made it easy to co-write. Matt and I were great friends, obviously, and I knew him really well. He knew me really well. So in our co-writing, Matt generally had sort of the idea and the concept for the tune and a lot of stuff already put together, and I would come in and add, either a missing line here and there, or typically, my contributions were musical, adding some melody and progression into the tune, and so we were just making music all the time. For me personally, I have to be very isolated and undistracted, and we were able to find those times, but we were just, we were always experimenting and picking in the van, in the truck, moving down the road. It was just what we were doing all the time. So it's really not surprising that we rarely, if ever, had a shortage of material. We seemed to always stay inspired. I mean, I can never remember a single moment where we were like, golly, we got to write a song. And then there was this intention of, okay, we're just going to write songs for the sake of writing songs. It never happened that way. It was always very authentic and very real. I think a lot of that had to do with us both being observers of the world, observers internally, always examining yourself in that process. So we, there was a lot going on there, man. So there's no shortage of it.
Becky Mountain looms over me in the dead of winter. Down in the valley, looks like Whoville. In the moonlight, I can tell the lakes are frozen. Down in the valley, looks like Whoville. Yeah, it looks like Whoville. I see the clouds touching on the mountaintop. I can see Dunn's Rock clearly. It sits 2,000 feet above Whoville, and it had to be a sacred place to the Cherokee. That was long before they built Whoville. Yeah, they built Whoville. Now the house lights cover up the mountaintop. Every time I hear it snow, she hardly never ever comes to town. Every time I hear it snow, I know why I came here. Every time the seasons change, the hour it grows near. Every time I have this dream, I always wake up here. Now you're telling me someone new is trying to steal Whoville. Now you're telling me someone new is trying to steal Whoville. Now you're telling me someone new is trying to steal Whoville. Now you're telling me someone new is trying to steal Whoville.
For those just joining us, it's Matthew Mays from Jupiter Coyote. Their latest album is Life Got in the Way. This band came up along with many of the quote-unquote jam bands in that scene, but you guys are far different from what I lump in as the jam bands. The formation of this band, let's talk a little bit about the early days, how you guys started coming together, influences, things such as that. How did it start connecting?
Well, jam band was not even a term when we came along. Dean Budnick, who was ran the wetlands up there in New York City, put out a book in the early 90s called The Top 50 Jam Band. And we were in it. We got a copy of the book. We were playing in New York. We're like, a jam band? What's that? We don't even know. We didn't even really know what a jam band was. But yeah, Coyote, there were certainly parts of what we did that I could see why they put us in that category. We had a lot of long-winded, multi-part songs, and we certainly would let the bottom drop out of it and cut loose some songs and just jam. Let it just see where it would go. But it wasn't all bohemic noodling. We had a lot of country rock, progressive bluegrass songs that people liked, and then we kind of weaved them all together. What really stuck us more in the jam band scene, I think, was kind of how we would link 4 or 5 songs together, come up for air before we ever stopped. They just kind of all seg to the next song with no break. That wasn't really something we planned on doing. We just started doing it so an audience didn't have a chance to really disengage from what we were doing, especially at the bar level.
Right.
Kind of hard to keep their attention. So we just started morphing them together, and it grew into that. And then that term came along, and there were a lot of bands that started, I call it just the 2-chord bohemic noodling. It certainly wasn't us. There was a lot more substance and song craft to our music than just being a jam band that would just stretch out on these 30 or 40-minute long jams and not really go anywhere.
Coyote has traditionally played all of their own music, a few covers now and again, but really all originals when you guys go on stage. Talk a little bit about some of the influences as far as other writers, players, bands. I know, obviously, the Allman Brothers are certainly one of them. You guys shared the stage with the brothers over the years. What are some other influences that you guys had?
Well, if you ask everyone in the band, Chris, you're going to get a pile of different answers. We pull from a pretty wide range of influences. So it's mostly 70s rock, but I grew up in the bluegrass circle. I grew up playing banjo and all mountain and folk and Appalachian music, and Earl Scruggs, Raymond Fairchild, Mark Pruitt, with people like that got me into playing banjo. I started playing banjo in 2nd grade. I never even picked up guitar till high school. I came out of a kind of grass country and traditional country, and then southern rock was huge. Of course, when I was a kid, Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner, Marshall Tucker, and Grinder Switch, Dixie Dregs, and there was just so much good stuff flying out of the South. And we were, it was guitar-driven music, and as kids, we didn't have iPhones and computers and stuff. We sat in our rooms and we bought cheap guitars and put those albums on, tried to learn how to play them all. Classic rock, southern rock, bluegrass music, country music. That was kind of where I pulled from. And then, you got Sanders came in and brought a whole R&B and funk side. He never even listened to any bluegrass music before he got in the band. Guy could play anything. John Meyer grew up playing all Black Sabbath stuff, of course, Allman Brothers. Yeah, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of all that, all those different musical influences. And then, I don't know, I guess we took the things out of it that we like, and when you put all those things together in one pot over time, we kind of cultivated a pretty cool sound.
So am I. I'm another year older, baby, not another year wise. I'm waking up from my bad dream, and I'm riding another. Life's gotta be all over the place. I got to find a way, pull myself together, and never mind the weather. Mistletoe took him a wild ride. He's been out so long, ain't nowhere left to hide. Love made out a simple plan. You toss up your heart, see what it lands. You put a golden band on your left hand. All the whiskey in the world can ease the pain of being a man. Can't you understand? There's enough already built here in the life. Got a big roll of keys, darling, stuffed down in my pocket. I don't know, darling, if my key fits no more. For only 6 years, I've been staring through your keyhole. My only way in now, darling, you unlock the door. From a frozen glass, the fool gave his last toast. Now his jacket's out there warm by ghost. In the river of love, a cheating sun's turned to stone. When I'm dead and gone, dust will cover my bones. So I gave in to the animal underneath the archways of pain. Never have I been so low. I don't know if I'll ever surface again. So I gave in to the animal underneath the archways of pain. Never have I been so low. I don't know if I'll ever surface again. Yeah!
With Steve Trisman, fiddle player from Jupiter Coyote. But it's nice being in I would assume, in a lineup like this where there is that musical camaraderie and you're not looked upon as the odd man out because you play a funny instrument that most rock bands don't really associate as being part of the rock makeup.
Oh, yeah. It's a guitar world, you know.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about when you first came across these guys. Were you familiar with them? Or was it just by chance that you guys linked up? And that was back in, what, 1999?
Well, I lived in Colorado, and they would come through maybe twice a year at that time. That's like, 95 or something. John Felty's future wife was at the University of Colorado. She was a dance major, and she was doing a dance recital, sort of her senior thesis or whatever. And and John and Matt were doing the music for it, live music on stage with this dance program. And they just felt they needed some more sound. And so they asked around Boulder for fiddle players. And they asked a banjo player from Leftover Salmon, God rest his soul. And he recommended me. And so I ended up doing that show with him. And we got to talking. And the next couple times they came through, I went to see him. I So like, wow, these guys are drawing a crowd, and it's not the normal crowd that's in this place. It's their own thing. And like, I don't know who within the band said like, well, we ought to ask this guy if he wants to join, but they came up with that. And then in '98, I drove out and met him in Arkansas on one of their trips and moved to North Carolina.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's our history.
Yeah. For those just joining us, it's fiddle player Steve Trisman talking about early meetings with Jupiter Coyote. He joins us today on the phone from Whoville, North Carolina. Steve, as far as what you think that you've brought to the band, what were some of the early responses or comments the guys would make when you had joined about that live sound?
They liked it, of course, for the bluegrass side of it and all in the country, but they really appreciated just, sort of the keyboard lines I did and what I found to fit into the rock aspect of it. That it wasn't just like the fiddle player playing rock music. It fit in. I mean, I used to use a chorus box and an octaver and some effects to sort of be more rocking about it, and that ended up working up pretty good. But they just like the support more than straight up soloing, because that's just kind of player I am, really.
Do you have a favorite Jupiter Coyote song?
I like Drew's theme. I like the new one, It All Comes Down to This.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to pick, really.
Steve, I do appreciate your time today. We look forward to hopefully getting you guys back up in New England in the future.
That'd be fun.
Wish you all the best with the new year and getting the word out about the album. And thanks so much for the time today.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thought it'd be so easy. I never thought it'd be so fun. But I heard it in some alley. Now I got it on the run. So if you wanna know a secret, you better promise me not to tell. weekend. Gonna lay on my porch down and make up with my friends. I've been riding down I-77, trying to ease my load. Every bump I hit spills thoughts of you in the road. Trisman, Trisman,
We're joined by Sanders Brightwell, bassist from Jupiter Coyote. You go from playing the bar circuit, the frat circuit, the college circuit, whatnot, southern states, and then Coyote really starts taking off as a road act by design or not by design, but this band is now dedicated to being out and slogging it out 250 nights a year or more. At the same time, you guys are recording, you're young, you're hungry, and the sound, as you said, is morphing. What were some memories of those days? Because it must have been pretty much full tilt the whole time, either on the road, in the studio, or just getting back from the road and getting ready to go back to the road.
Oh, gosh.
Or is it all a blur?
I mean, we were total road dogs. I mean, I can remember, the 90s were a bit of a blur because we were gone so much, but, we could be gone for 3 months at a stretch, 2-3 months at a stretch on the road and literally circumnavigating the entire continental United States doing it. So we did. We played. We were working musicians. We played. We'd come back, work on new tunes, and we'd test them on the road. We'd get them ready to go for the studio on the road, and then we'd come in and do a record. So we released, 93, 95, 96, 98. How many? 5 records in the 90s, something like that, maybe 6, something like that.
Right.
For the entire decade of the 90s, we were nothing but mostly road, then record, and maybe home. 40, 50 days we weren't doing anything.
Mm-hmm. That's full time. I mean, you can't get any more full time than that. This Mom, Dad, this is no longer a hobby.
No. Try explaining that to my mother too.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, Mom, I'm not asking you for any money, so just bear it and grin it.
Yeah,
grin and bear it.
The new album, Life Got in the Way. Matt said, really, life did get in the way. Things changed for you guys. Families happened.
Yes.
Career paths happened. Road burnout happened. Recording burnout happened. It wasn't that the band was stale, but life got in the way, and changes happened. You made a visit to Matt after years of the band basically being fallow and not playing.
So I had a few days, and I just, I was going through some stuff in my life, and he said, why don't you just come on up here? So I did. It was October. I think the hurricane was coming through. We just fished. We hung out. We recorded a little bit. It felt good. Just nothing like trying to map out a tune or anything, but just playing a little bit, I thought nothing more of it. And then he folded up the lodge business where he was leaving it, that hit on where he grew up. And I guess it was in December. He said, I'm playing at Eddie's Attic. Do you want to come sit in? And he kept asking everybody to come sit in. So it was, golly, there were 6 of us on that tiny little stage. Mm-hmm. This little club, it's pretty famous. I don't know if you ever heard of it in Decatur, but a lot of people have come through there. John Meyer, Indigo Girl, I'm sure there are many others. Can't put my finger on. And it felt great. And then he said, look, I'm going to start lining up some dates. Can you do them? Like real dates? And I said, sure, as long as it's on a Saturday and I can get to it from Atlanta. And that's just how it came about. Now it's been, 1 or 2 a month since then.
She led you to a place with water and sea. Still you remain just one stride behind. It makes no sense, your morning song. So she casually moves on. And you remain. Just one stride behind. You remain. Just one stride behind. And the forest is old for all to behold. Life just a dot in the scope of time. A minute could be 10,000 years. It all depends how you time your days. And you remain. A stride behind. You remain. Just one stride behind. see. Led you to a place. Now you're down on your knees. Fade in, fade out, and fade away. Like the desert radio, stretches of highway with no one on them. I am no one on them.
The Coyote thing is very, it's really so much about camaraderie. That's one of the few bands that I've worked with that at times, sometimes the camaraderie pulls you through more so than the music.
Mm-hmm,
you know, we're just good friends. We just like being around each other. And that's been in a lot of bands where the music's almost effortless, but, you know, you ride with some people for 2 or 3 hours and everybody's ready to strangle each other. Never really had that. I mean, there were moments, but...
Oh, that's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah, but, you know, it's a pretty tight bond with everybody in Jupiter Coyote. So.
For those just joining us, we're talking to Noel Felty. So, Noel, Brevard, North Carolina has always been the official, unofficial, or official home of Jupiter Coyote, correct?
You didn't hear funk in Brevard. You didn't hear, you know, you could hear jazz from time to time, but you didn't, and you definitely didn't hear the stuff that the Coyote was putting down or something that you would expect to hear from Colonel Bruce Sampson or anything like that. Now that bunch resides here. You know, Jeff Sipe lives here as well.
Mm-hmm.
And back to the ARU Bruce Sampson connection. So the music here is now thriving, and you have great artists, great musicians coming here and doing their thing right down on Main Street. On a Monday night, people in Brevard are absolutely spoiled now that they can just step out and see world-class musicians. Stuff that you'd expect to see at the Blue Note in New York City.
Right.
You know, you can find that here now.
Speaking of which, the ongoing evolution of Jupiter Coyote, you came in around 2001 to take Gene's place in the drum chair, and now
2000.
you're 2000, and now
2000 April. I remember because I had a gig with them in Boone, which all my first gigs for whatever reason with bands, including Colonel Bruce Hampton and Catfish Jenkins and Both Sides and Countless Others, has all been in Boone, and Jupiter Coyote as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I remember that. It was April. We rehearsed one night in Matthew's basement and did it. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, not at all. But now the changes comes so much that Gene is back in the fold, and it's a dual drumming band. Each of you guys with different styles. I always think of Gene as more the meat and potatoes, roll up the sleeves and just hit it. You know, the muscle, you a little bit more on the finesse side. I kind of trace that to the ARU, the prog rock, the jazzier stuff. But having never seen you guys together, I'm just picturing what I saw of you guys playing as solo drummers. But I think a really good partnership and compatibility and complementary kind of styles that you guys each bring to the mix in a band where everybody is an ace musician. This is just an extra kind of curveball that gets thrown in that works.
It does. And Gene and I, it's funny. We are different players, and the beautiful thing about two completely different players is you learn a lot from each other. Gene brought something to that band that I always struggled with my background. You know, back to finesse and playing jazz and classical. That kind of, I was never really a heavy hitter, and I was never really a meat potatoes guy. I was like an organic guy, man. You want to change things around. You want to create some color here. You want to compliment a soloist. That's kind of where my bag was. And as far as being like a really solid groove player, you know, I had to really do my homework to do what I think. It's funny, people who aren't musicians or even musicians have this kind of mentality that it's simpler to play certain styles than others. And it is not true by any means. It was just as hard for me to develop a good foundational rock groove than it would ever be for some rock drummer to try and figure out how to play jazz. It's just as difficult on both levels to try and adapt to a different style. And, of course, I had to do that with Coyote. It was really family connection. The brotherhood that we already had established was there, but musically we had gone in different directions. So, and I got a call to do it. Really was nervous about it because I'm like, guys, I'm not Gene Bass.
Right.
Gene Bass, for most of a solid decade, had been really making things happen for them. And Gene did a brilliant job, and I studied him, you know, a whole lot when I took over the gig, because last thing you want to do when you're like a hired gun to come in after somebody's been laying something down for 10 years is, you know, I don't want to just take my shirt off and go, here I am. This is what it's all about now. This is the new guy. Kind of have to earn your way in, and I think I pulled a lot from what Gene had already established there, and probably analyzed his playing more than he ever has to kind of fit that void. So then there was, you know, a couple year struggle of me trying to figure out how to be me and not just be, you know, my idea was never to just clone what somebody else had done, and because I can't stand cover bands and cover music, so I didn't want us to be a cover band, me just learning, you know, what had already been done. So I had to figure out a way to progress and make my playing complement the band as well. So when Gene and I finally got to work together, I think we have so much fun on stage because we're so giddy. After my 10 years that I put in really changed the direction of the band somewhat, and obviously the way that it sounded. But also there's still elements of what Gene had already done there. So when we play together, Gene and I will catch each other playing. Either he's doing one of my licks that he's heard, or I'm playing one of his that, you know, he did 10 years ago or whatever, and we do it in unison. We look at each other and, you know, just laugh. So we've had a whole lot of fun with that. And then, like, back to what you were saying, him, you know, being a meat and potatoes player and me learning how to be a meat and potatoes player, it's definitely been a lot of fun for us to play together, because now that he's back in the meat and potato role, I'm back in. I'm going to go off in this direction now because I got Gene to hold it down.
To anchor it, yeah.
But I tell you what, Gene is, when you reverse those roles, when you anchor for Gene, because Gene never had anybody anchoring for him.
Right.
So when you can reverse those roles and I anchor for Gene, he can step out there just about as far as anybody. So I've been really impressed seeing what he's been hiding in his bag for many years. I think he must have really held himself back a lot to allow Jupiter Coyote to mold into what it was, because Gene's a hell of a player, and there's a lot of stuff that he doesn't do that he is capable of.
ago. You don't see 'em round here no more. One boy standing next to the major, four in the black, one in the tan. Wasn't his best day up on the rifle range, target gripped by the major's hand. You got the whole world out there hanging in the balance while you're searching for the way you think it ought to be. Ain't no time for a soul searching, brother. Won't you take a deep breath of the way it is? Growing, gotta keep reaching. Time is surely wasting. Never too tall to take a hell of a fall. Oh, those high places, yeah. Got the whole world out there hanging in the balance, searching for the way you think it ought to be. Ain't no time for soul searching, brother. Won't you take a deep breath of the way it is? A man flies down on the east coast, a man's his whiskey while time flies by. Someday when the Lord shows up at my door, we'll all go fly through that hole in the sky. You got the whole world out there hanging in the balance while you're searching for the way you think it ought to be. Ain't no time for soul searching, brother. Won't you take a deep breath of the way it is? Whole world out there hanging in the balance while you're searching for the way you think it ought to be. Ain't no time for soul searching, brother. Won't you take a deep breath of the way it is?
Just joining us, we're in the midst of a Jupiter Coyote feature today. We're joined by Jupiter Coyote guitarist John Meyer in Macon, Georgia. The sound of this band, it's taken some changes over the years, adding fiddle player Steve Trisman in the late 90s, early 2000s. You and John Felty have some similarities as guitarists, but at the same time, you bring a little bit of a different approach to the lead guitar slot, and obviously everybody is an ace musician in this band, so the gumbo pot that is filled with all these different styles of players, everybody with different backgrounds, really has a nice balance to it. But your style of playing, say, compared to a Felty, and how you fit in with Matt Mays?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's definitely different. John Felty, I think he came up more, this is kind of hard to say, he was probably Southern rock side of things. Now, I mean, when I slashed Southern rock side of things, I mean, when I started off, I was, obviously, living in Macon, if you weren't aware of the Allman Brothers. Of course, I grew up here starting in the early 70s. I mean, it couldn't help but be influenced by it. In fact, my bizarre tuning, I basically based it off the song Dreams by the Allman Brothers. I literally, when I first started that, I just wanted to learn that song. So not really knowing any better, I just ended up tuning my guitar to that, and I did learn it, and it was like, well, I might as well try to see if I can, learn something else, and it just went from there. But I was also more into the louder material too. Honestly, Black Sabbath, things like that, Pink Floyd, kind of all over the place. Too, like I say, the Southern rock. Sure. Gosh, you name it. I've got a lot of influence, but as far as my style of playing, yeah, it's probably a little more brash and louder. I've had to ease off on the distortion a little bit for this, just to try to make it not too far over the edge. But the more I'm playing with them, the more we're kind of figuring each other out. So it's just like getting better daily, which is great.
Face and he's a living on another route. my boys' faces living on another rock. I didn't want no family. Now I got another leaf on my family tree. I didn't want no family. Now I got another leaf on my family tree. Yeah, I didn't want no family. Now I got another leaf on my family tree. I didn't want no family. Now I got another leaf on my family tree. Yeah, shake.
For lack of a better term, Jupiter Coyote has technically reconstituted itself. They've got a new album out called Life Got in the Way, and right now we're talking to bassist Sanders Brightwell. Sanders, there's got to be some attributes that you could cite as what has made this band stand the test of time, keep a loyal fan base, even though the band has been off the road for so many years. Your thoughts?
One, our music, and then we never, ever took our fans for granted, ever. They were our friends first and foremost, and so it's a testament to that.
And I think from what some people have said is that this band has never sounded better. And
I think we sound great, totally. I think we're all very glad to be up there playing, and we've been together, and I've known these guys. I've known Noel longer than anybody else, and gosh, I've known Matt and the rest of them since probably 89 or 90, and that's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We never lost touch, even we were kind of ether there for a little bit. And,
sure.
We are all friends.
We're joined by Sanders Brightwell. Before we let him go, we're going to give him the toughest questions. 3 words or less to describe Jupiter Coyote.
Oh, Lord. I think we're original. I think we're solid as a unit after all these years, and we're fun. If you come see us and you don't have fun, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Original, solid fun.
What do the other guys say?
Can't tell you. You got to wait for it to air.
I don't know.
That might be a good bumper sticker when you think about it. Jupiter Coyote, original, solid fun.
I don't know about the fun part. Maybe I need to rethink that.
Well, you said it.
Entertaining, perhaps.
Entertaining. Now you're starting to sound all sophisticated. Now you're starting to sound like
you're
starting to sound like Noel Felty now.
Oh, Lord. I can't wax as philosophical as he does.
No. Sanders Brightwell from Atlanta, Georgia, bass player with Jupiter Coyote. If you had a favorite track or two, what would you say, at least for today, what would you say were some of your favorites?
I love the Here Be Dragons record. The track Words, to this day, is still one of my favorite ones, and I think Matt's vocals on that are absolutely superb. I think it was one of the best tracks he ever laid down vocally, I think. I love that whole record.
When I woke up this morning with a hurricane in my head, caught between wind and the rain. Guessing I'd have thought I could ride out that storm. I'm afraid of a choice I made. Wearing that anger on your collar for the whole world to see the trouble you've been under. Carry that chip, boy, on your shoulders while the rest just suffer under the weight of your boulder. Oh, I was slowly growing older. Hey, you better make your words soft and sweet, 'cause you never know from day to day which ones you have to eat. Oh, Lord, you never know from day to day which ones you have to eat. baby, now what is that you're saying? And would you mind whispering that again? Well, in my ear, hey baby, now what is that you're saying? And would you mind whispering that again? Well, in my ear, yeah. And that's what's broken. Hey, won't you give me 1 or 2 to call my own? What's broken are just lies. What's broken? Hey, won't you give me 1 or 2 that I can't keep? What's broken are just lies. Heading west from Ashland, born west, just soulbound. 10,000 feet up in the sky, and on your face there's still a frown. Wearing that anger on your collar for the whole world to see. The trouble you've been under, carry that chip, boy, on your shoulders while the rest just suffer under the weight of your boulder. While we slowly grow older, hey, you better make your words soft and sweet, 'cause you never know from day to day which ones you have to eat. Oh Lord, you never know from day to day which ones you have to eat.
Talking about what makes Jupiter Coyote tick and what sets them apart. We're going to go back, talk about a track that came off the third album. It was called Wade from 1993, the track called Cindy. We're back now with Jupiter Coyote drummer Noel Felty.
We like songs, at least in that band. That band is a band that I think the songs are the strong point. The jams just happen to be the fun stuff for everybody that happens in the middle.
Right.
But I'm there to play those songs, and that audience out there are there to hear those songs. I don't think there's anybody in that audience that comes to see a Jupiter Coyote show that is coming just because they want to watch the drummer, or they're coming just because they want to watch the violin player or the guitar player, or that they just want to hear solos. I think everybody that shows up in that room is there because they want to hear those stories and how they somehow relate to them.
I'm going to put you on the spot. 3 words or less to describe the band. How would you sum them up?
Oh man, three words or less. There's an awful lot of music in there to sum up in 3 words or less. All I can say is fun, camaraderie. I think everybody gets that. I'll just use 2 right there. I think if you notice, you've been to Coyote shows, there's just as much camaraderie with our audience as there is on stage, and I think we're all there to to have fun.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. It's simple, but I'll stick with it.
Could you pick a tune right now that you could say, right this minute, this is the JC song that I want to hear? What would it be right now?
Well, the song that I have always thought completely sums this band up, and I still almost get choked up when we start, even when we go over it during sound check. I think Cindy encompasses really what Jupiter Coyote is. I think that is like quintessentially our song. Now, there might be people that argue about that, but they're the elements of everything that we bring to the table. First of all, it's a great story. You're really seeing, Matthew's ability to do what he does lyrically. There's the elements of funk because it's a funky song, but yet there's this gidjo, which is a bluegrass instrument, and there's this kind of country bluegrass sensibility to it because Get Along Home, Cindy, Cindy, that's actually a bluegrass tune. Those lyrics were plagiarized some from there, but and that's kind of what Jupiter Coyote is all about. It's about great lyrics, it's about really good music, and it's about instruments playing, in genres they don't belong in. You got a banjo playing in a funk tune, and you got a fiddle playing in a funk tune. But you've got this funk tune that's half country. So, I mean, you can see why that. I think we leave a question mark for at least radio stations. But every time we start that song, there's a general energy in the room that changes, and it does when we do sound check. When we start running through some of that, and I think that's the reason we use it in sound check so much because it's one of the ones that we've got all the elements of Coyote, including background harmonies and all that stuff. So everybody's vocals are on everything. So we tend to play that song a lot. That really sums, I think, us up a lot.
Noel Felty, thank you so much for the time today, the stories, the insight, and sharing a little bit about what you see and hear from your place behind the traps. We really appreciate it and wish you all the best in the new year to come and obviously the great new album.
Yeah, man.
Back with Matthew Mays. Let's talk about that gidjo.
That gidjo thing I play really turned out to be an intricate part of the sound.
Banjo-styled stringing and neck with a Stratocaster body. Not a common instrument at all for anybody. When did you start playing gidjo, and what do you think that's brought to your sound? Because to hear it and see it is to believe it.
Well, yeah, set us aside. A lot of those bands that you mentioned dabbled more on the blues and jazz side, especially the Allman Brothers, and we kind of dabbled more on this bluegrass side. Now, the gidjo, me being a banjo player, I couldn't really figure out how to get an acoustic banjo on our stage setup as loud as we were. You just couldn't get that thing loud enough to be able to compete, and it still kind of had that tinky banjo sound, so I was looking for a different tone. One day I was sitting in my room practicing. This is how this happened. I was trying to learn how to play the Nashville Albert Lee style picking, kind of like what it's where you hold a guitar pick between your thumb and index finger, and you pull with your middle and ring finger. And it was really difficult for me to learn how to do that because my thumb, from all those years of banjo playing, kept wanting to pull up on the top string, that octave string, like I was used to playing. So I was sitting there practicing on my Fender Strat one day in my room. I had it plugged in a twin. And I found a set of banjo picks in my gig bag. And I put them on, and I was trying to do banjo Earl Scruggs, 5-string roll banjo bluegrass licks on the electric guitar. And it doesn't work because first of all, you're in standard tuning. A banjo is tuned in open G. So I just kind of had a light bulb moment where I said, man, hang on a second. So I got clippers out and I cut the E and the A string off the top strap. Cut them off completely, took them off. And I took a high E from the first string, another one, and put it up on the 6th string spot on my guitar. And then tuned it into a low open G chord like a banjo's tune. And then plugged that sucker in my amp and started doing those rolls, and now they work. And I was like, holy smokes, listen to that sound. Now I can do all these picking licks that I know, but with a different tone. So I took that Strat up to a custom builder in Griffin, Georgia, a guy named Tom Dodd, and he had already built one hot rod electric guitar for me. And I told him, I said, now, I got up to his shop, and before you think I'm crazy, but I'm getting ready to ask you to build me, listen to this. And I pulled that Strat out, strung up like that, plugged it in one of his amps and played some on it with banjo picks on my finger. And he's like, wow. He goes, that's going to freak guitar players out. They're not going to be able to figure out how you're doing that. So he built the first one. It kind of had some bugs and some intonation problems keeping it tuned. And then I played that one for a while, and then in the process, he built a couple more. And then the third one that he built is the one I'm still playing today. It's just a superb, awesome instrument. He really got all the bugs worked out of it by the third one. So unlike a gold tone or a Deering Crossfire, which are electric banjos, basically, this thing kind of got the characteristics of a Strat. It's got 3 pickups on it, 2 tones and a volume and a 5-way switch, so you can get all these different tonal sounds out of it. You can plug it in an amplifier and crank it up and get it to sustain. Now you can play it distorted. You can put wah-wah on effect.
Well, I was going to say, you throw some pedals through that and some effects pedals, and it really turns into a little monster.
It really did. And what I figured out is if you slow those banjo rolls down in a funk groove, let's just take a song like Cindy or Lucky Day, and you put a funk groove under them and you slow that thing down, those rolls, it just became a sonic, rhythmic launching pad for the lead line players. I really use it as a rhythm instrument. In the band, sure, you can play lead line on it, but I kind of play that thing in the band like maybe what a keyboard player would do. My picking hand really almost mimics what the right hand of a piano player would be doing if you broke apart all the notes that I'm hitting in one roll. So I kind of just fell into it, started messing around with it. Then over the years, it kind of became a really hybrid element of our sound. And it set us aside from the rest of the bands in that group. No one had an instrument like that, first of all. And then no one had a sound like that came out of it. It turned out to be just kind of one of those things you're fooling around with. It turns out to be something magical. It really was. It turned out to be way bigger than what I anticipated. Now, it's my favorite thing to play. I play it every night. I really feel most comfortable on that instrument. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Banjo players are not real interested in it. The grasses, those guys are, most of them are such purists. They want to stick to the bluegrass and the acoustic sound and tone, which is fine. I've got a Gibson RB3 Master Tone too, and I play that. But in that band, as loud as we are on stage, man, you can compete with that thing. You can crank it up, and it's just been a lot of fun to play. Really, I feel most at home when I've got that thing on, man.
Around the haystack, I ran round to meet her. She pulled up her petticoat. I whipped out the jaws. Get along home, Cindy, Cindy. Get along home, Cindy, Cindy. Your mama's calling you.
Guitarist John Meyer from Jupiter Coyote has joined us. When you were approached by Matt, I assume that's how it all happened, with this new album project and starting to do road dates, were you thinking to yourself, geez, why did this take so long for this to finally happen? Or how did it strike you as finally being in this band?
Well, quite honestly, I mean, Matt had approached me a couple times in the early 90s.
And obviously you guys had worked on Raptor Trail and those projects and all previously, so it wasn't like you guys hadn't been playing together, you and Matt and Gene Bass.
Right. Well, I think I told you earlier, Gene and I actually started playing at the same time. I've known him since 1977, so I'm giving away our age there a little bit. But, he and I started off playing at his folks' house, just he and I, and then that sort of morphed into a few months later. He and I would play teenage parties, thrash along with Black Sabbath, and we just lit the crowd, But Matt and I, they kind of approached me a couple times in the early 90s about coming and playing them and, a third guitar. And then, like I say, at that time I was, in marriage mode, in fish mode, children production mode, things like that. So I didn't do it, but it's just weird at the same time. I kind of regretted not doing it.
Right.
Because I've always gotten along with all of them just really good. We've always been best friends and everything. And I just, and like I say, it kind of wound down some in the early 2000s. Think much about it. Matt and I still kept in touch. Then the Raptor Trail thing popped up, and that just, my gosh, I mean, we put out 4 albums basically about 3 years, and it just came so fast and furious. Just kind of went from there, and then Matt was, continuously getting offers to play these places. That's when they sort of approached me, and I had just kind of gotten out of where I wasn't really wanting to play my bars, and I'd just kind of written that off. And when Matt approached me with it this time, it was like, I thought it would be a blast. Quite honestly, it's the most fun I've ever had playing since I've been with it this time around, so it's really working out good.
it's a live band, and I never know where it's going to go once we start, and that's what's fun about it to me. The studio stuff is great. It's different these days than it was back, like you mentioned, Wade or Lucky Day. We did the last record, it's via file sharing. Everybody is in their own home studio.
Mm-hmm.
So we were never in the same room together. There are some drawbacks to that, obviously. However, there's a convenience factor, too. I'm trying to think of a song. The title cut, Life Gets in the Way.
Yep.
Couple different takes on that one. I did a couple of takes one day, and we listened back to it, so I don't know if this is going to work right now. Noel did a take on something, and instead of getting frustrated about it, well, I guess everybody just went back in the house and had some chocolate chip cookies and just waited another day, and nobody really got stressed out. It was a very low-key record to make. It's nice to all be in the same room together when you can.
The early material, I should say, back to the Wade days, you guys were working with Johnny Sandlin, the renowned engineer, producer down in Georgia. A different era then in the studio for bands. As you said, the way things are being done now, recording technology has changed so much. You can make an album at your desk, basically, with a computer these days. As you said, guys,
True.
Sharing files. But a band is only as good as that band is when they're together. And you can share so many files and Pro Tool things to death, but you've either got it or you don't got it. And so many bands cannot play live well, cannot capture that energy because they are technically creations of the studio. Coyote can do both, but is truly an onstage organism.
Right, and it's funny. I mean, you're talking about Johnny. We wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff we're doing right now by ourselves if it wasn't for Johnny back then, because when we first hit the studio with him, looking back on it, we were very green, and we had a clue, but not much of a clue. He taught us so much, and he was such a wonderful human being.
He was one of the greats.
He really was. I really miss him. All the stuff you hear on there, especially when you're talking about the drum tracks or anything, that's live stuff. There's no edits in there. If it's a track on the new album you heard, it's there from start to finish with a live cut. Now I'm sure there's some guitar overdubs. As a matter of fact, I'm positive there is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a different beast than drums.
Charger, overachiever, up every morning before that bell. Down on Wall Street with something to sell. Workaholic man, that's an understatement. Self-inflicted Ponzi scheme, overinflated. Made a ton of dough, but died real slow. You can't tell where you're now when you go, and you never see you all behind the hearse. Trying to keep up with the Jones and the Misses. 3 or 4 wives and a pile of kids, and a block full of houses no longer his. He missed the ball games and the Christmas play. Always work getting in the way. When the cancer came, it was too late. Now the family's fighting over his estate, and you never see you all behind the hearse.
We're back with Matthew Mays from Jupiter Coyote. Their latest album is Life Gets in the Way. And the burning question is, there's two coyotes. There's a studio coyote and there's a live coyote. The building blocks are in the studio, or maybe the building blocks are on stage that you take to the studio. But on stage, this is a band that takes on a whole new complexity to it. What's a JC show in your mind? How you guys design your sets? What can happen out there?
Well, lately I'm really trying to vary them up a lot. We have such a gigantic catalog stuff that we try to really mix up the set, not playing the same one. Of course, the jams, when we cut loose, do some of the improv sections in our songs, we never play those the same way twice. The band that played as much as we did, that kept it interesting for us. As a player, it kept you pushing the parameters of where you get with it and just try to see, we called it the door. You get up to the door every night. Some nights you got through and some nights it was a train wreck. But we tried every night. But yeah, that dynamic from the sets, you try to give them, move it into kind of some of the country rock tunes, some of the song stuff, some of the jam stuff, and then keep it moving in and out where it's not all in the same format the whole show. Be one or two ballads in there, not a whole lot. Try to just build the intensity off the crowd. We used the set list. We didn't always stick to it. We would kind of just try to fill out the crowd, see what kind of mood or vibe they were in, and then roll with it from there. Now, as far as the set, this is how we did it. We called it Clump. Clump would be like 4 or 5 songs, like what I was telling you about earlier, that we would link together without stopping. That was born out of the fact that I was playing electric guitar, acoustic guitar and drop D or dadgad, and then gidgeos. So I was bouncing around 4 different instruments, 4 different tunings. So rather than swapping between each song and having to retune and all that dead time between songs, we started linking 4 or 5 of them together on the instrument that I happened to be playing in that segment. So rather than have to stop and switch after each song, we'd play 4 or 5, and then I would stop and switch to a different instrument, and we'd go into another clump, which would be maybe 4 or 5 songs where I was playing electric guitar. And then we'd stop, and I'd put on the gidgeo, and we'd go into 4 or 5 where I was playing the gidgeo. And then back to standard tuning on the acoustic. So it just stopped all the dead time. And that's kind of how our set list was born, into the clumps of songs that we would play and string them together and do different ones in those clumps based on what I was tuned in and what instrument I was playing.
And again, you read the room. Things can change mid-set. Some of the guys on stage might start nudging people in one direction. John might throw a curveball at you. You might get a bass line from Sanders. Noel might throw some things at you. So things can change, I would assume.
Absolutely. Still happens on stage now. We just let it go a little bit and see where it's going to go. We figure somebody's always got to have the rope, we call it.
Right.
That's the one guy who's got the rope to pull us all back in case it gets too far out there. So, and then reel it back in. Over the years of all that playing, we got good at listening to each other and figuring out where that was going and figuring out a way to push it out there and then figuring out a way to reel it back in. And it never was hardly ever done the same way twice. So,
well, that's what makes it fun.
That's half the fun of the band, is that freedom. Players have to just roll with it. We don't play all the lead line stuff the same way every night. The signature lick, sure. Mm-hmm. But the rest of it, no. It could be different every night. We kind of come out of the Grateful Dead mode. Mm-hmm. We're like, well, let's push it on out there and see where it goes. Allman Brothers certainly did it in the early days,
right,
too. And we weren't afraid of doing it. Now, you don't want to do that all night.
No.
You lose people. But there are magical seconds of when you can do it that it can be just beautiful. And you know what happens is you're creating music then rather than just making it or reproducing what you already did. You're actually inventing it on the spot, and you're playing from total feel. And there's a lot of fear and freedom in that.
winter's getting warmer like a hula, and I'm feeling the weight upon my shoulders. Running down the highway, trying to lovers on a blade, making love on the time beside the wide awake. Rosie, Rosie, yeah. Rosie is a beautiful thing in a straight way, like a song that you sing with those that have gone. Spirits are dancing and on the catacombs, slipping into the night. Let your body feel when I hold up the dreams by me. Yeah. So it's so real, all you dreams so real. That beauty's in the eyes of Viola. Never growing up, just own her. Winter's getting warmer like a hula, and I'm feeling the weight upon my shoulders. Running down the highway, trying to lovers in a blade, making love on the time beside the wide awake. Beside the wide awake, Rosie, my Rosie.
Founding member of Jupiter Coyote, guitarist John Felty has joined us from Brevard, North Carolina. John, this band as a live band really, when you get down to it, is where it's at. The studio material is all good, but there's the studio Coyote, there's the live Coyote, and this has been a reason why people continue to go out and see this band because of the live shows. What was it that made it so special for you guys on stage? And let's face it, thousands and thousands of shows, hundreds of thousands of miles driven, and Road Dogg doesn't even start to describe what this band did as far as logging miles. The fact that you guys survived and didn't kill each other, never mind just driving off into oblivion, it's mind-blowing to understand just how much time was put in on the road, different places every single night, literally.
Yeah, well, you just kind of hit on it, Chris. I mean, it was at the end of the day, we all just like hanging out with each other. And, you know, I think if you polled any successful band that has been together for any length of time, that's going to be the common thread. Yeah, you can have great players. You certainly got to have good songwriting in the group. At the end of the day, you have to really, really like and respect each other. And we did. This group, even the few members came and went, but we all really just enjoyed doing this together. That allowed us to stay together long enough to have success. And I think that is what was the catalyst for the energy on stage. We all had a genuine respect and fun rapport with each other, and we were able to communicate musically on stage and transfer that to the audience. I think it was, we allowed our individual personalities to breathe through that, and people connected with that, and we were always accessible to our fans. You know, we were never a group that once the show was over, went to the green room or hopped on the bus or whatever and kind of hid out. We were in the mix, and I think that is part of the reason that our fans really felt like they could connect with us and see that we were really, you know, we were just real people like they were too. And that was a big part of it. We made long-lasting friends all over the country from this band. You know, that was one of the other bonuses of it. And it wasn't something that we went out and made a calculated effort. It was something that was just who we were. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a Southern thing, but yeah, there was the party part of it, too. You know, that was always fun. But certainly at the shows, we made ourselves accessible. And I think that was a big attribute for our success as well.
3 words or less to describe Jupiter Coyote.
3 words or less. Oh man, Chris, that's a tough one, man. Persistent, creative, strong.
That fits. Do you have a favorite track or two?
Oh, man, you know, it tends to change over the years. So that early Cemeteries and Junkyard stuff, again, I think if you ask any band, if you play this stuff for so long, you just kind of get tired of it, and the new stuff tends to be more inspiring on stage. But I tend to gravitate and still like, to this day, the stuff that is more of the bluegrass influence stuff. When Matt was playing as Gidjo, that kind of stuff to me was more the unique sound of Jupiter Coyote than anything else we did. Just from the layers musically that we were able to create when Matt was playing as Gidjo, it was always the funnest stuff to play. I don't necessarily have, out of that body of work, you know, a track or two that stands out more so than the others, but I always liked Ballad of Lucy Edenfield, Cindy, the Lucky Day Jam. That was always pretty fun to play. The Gidjo stuff, as we say, it really was, I think, my favorite stuff.
John, thank you so much for the time. Wish you all the best in the new year, and look forward to what's next on the horizon for you guys.
Great, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Well, Lucy was a country girl from down around Biloxi. Packed her life and headed down to New Orleans. Couldn't work the farm, couldn't be like her mama, withering away in a factory. Bus was beating down some backwoods highway, carrying Lucy and all of her dreams. Mama used to take her to church on Sunday. Jesus never taught her not to be nice. It's hard to see with stars in your eyes. It's hard to tell the truth from the lies. Harder not to hang your head down and cry. Well, Lucy, don't you know those angels are coming, picking you up so you can fly, fly, fly. Lucy, don't you know you're gonna see those angels the day you're born and the day you die. It's hard to tell the truth from the lies. Harder not to hang your head down and cry. Well, Lucy, don't you know those angels are coming, picking you up so you can fly, fly, fly. Lucy, don't you know you're gonna see those angels the day you're born and the day you die. Lucy, don't you know those angels are coming, picking you up so you can fly, fly, fly.
Matthew Mays has joined us this afternoon from Jupiter Coyote. Their latest album, Life Got in the Way. Matthew, where can people learn more about projects that you guys are doing, websites, things like that, be it Raptor Trail, your own material, or JC material? Where can people go online to check you guys out?
Well, of course, if you want to download it, you can get everything we've done at iTunes, Google Music, Amazon, all the downloads, 55 of them out there. We're in all of them. Take your pick. iTunes is probably the best. Now, for streaming, Spotify, our entire catalog is on all the streaming outlets. That's Google Music, Apple Music, Amazon, and Spotify. So you can go in there and type in Jupiter Coyote and listen to it.
Matthew Mays from Jupiter Coyote. Before we let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me your all-time number one JC song. If you had to pick one right now, and of course that can change every day, every hour, but if you had to listen to one right now, what would it be?
Man, that's a tall order. You know, for me, I wrote most of all that stuff. Felty and I co-wrote a few. And pretty much all the rest of those I wrote. So I remember Jerry Garcia saying one time that somebody asked him that same question. And I know what he meant there. He said, well, I kind of feel like they're all near miss. I don't know that I've written the perfect one. And I don't know that I've written the perfect one either. I think I've written some really good ones. I don't know that I could pick my hands-down favorite one. Just when I think, wow, I really like playing that song, or I really like that one, then I like that one too. It's like, gosh, I don't know.
Give me two or three.
I like Song Like Words. There's something still totally free about Lucky Day and what all kinds of stuff that goes into. I mean, good gracious, we've taken that into Grateful Dead tunes, Widespread Panic tunes, Allman Brothers tunes, just all kinds of stuff. So that one's still up there from a player standpoint. Fun to cut it loose and see where it goes. As far as songs I've written that I think are probably smash hits for people if they ever got a hold of them. I mean, Real Thing and Tying Things Together and Great, tunes like that. I don't know that I could pick one, really.
Well, those are all
they're
good.
They're all personal and they're all real, so they all mean something. So a lot of them are autobiographical to me. There's a little piece of me, probably more so than I would want sometimes, in about all that stuff. So I always said, I remember Jimmy Page said one time, Chris, that people can't tell really how good you are, how bad you are as a player, or how great a song is, or how bad, or how good you are as a singer, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing this, of course. But he said what they can pick up on is if you play it with conviction. If you play with conviction, people pick up on that instantly. So I just tried to stick to that. Play it like you feel it. Play it like you mean it. And don't overanalyze the rest of it.
Words to live by. Matthew Mays, thank you so much. We wish you all the best with the latest Jupiter Coyotes album, Life Got in the Way, the solo stuff, and all. We look forward to getting your butts back up here in New England.
Man, I hope that happens. We'd love to get back up there. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much.
was your lucky day. I guess you'll finally get your way. We said all there was to say a long time ago. Rise and fall like a song, live just as fast as we came along. Two rides making a wrong on the road, let's travel down. So gather your rose, that's why you pay for time time she is flying. And that same cloud that smiles today, tomorrow might be dying. So gather your rosebuds while you may, every time she is flying. And that same cloud that smiles today, tomorrow might be dying. Yeah.
including a Jupiter Coyote feature this afternoon, I should say this morning, going into afternoon. Special thanks to Matthew Mays, John Felty, Gene Bass, Noel Felty, Steve Trisman, and John Meyer for their assistance putting this together. Dr. Love up next with The Funk Show. He'll be with you until 6 o'clock this evening. As always, our phone number here in studio is 860-297-2450. My name has been Chris. I'll be in again doing soul and blues and funky stuff on Saturday, 3:30 to 5:30 on Greasy Tracks. You can reach us at 860-297-2450 via email at greasytracks@aol.com, and of course on the interweb at WRTC-FM.com. Gonna leave you with one from the Lucky Day album. Again, thanks to JC for help putting this together. This is one called Tying Things Together. You are tuned to WRTC Hartford. Wednesday morning, heading into afternoon, and I do hope you all fare well. Keep your heads up.
I just watched another year slowly pass me by. Time's winged chariot has surely made me wise, and I'm still taking trips to understand my core. And I ain't learned nothing yet I didn't know before. Tune carries my soul like the river carries silk. I'm living in some walls I could only build. Can you catch me when my race is run? Like Icarus, I'll probably fly too close to the sun. So tell me, is this the way I'm supposed to live? Can I see the signals that the keeper gives? Is this the way I'm supposed to live? Tying things together that don't have any ends. Down the road just looking for me. Most of the time I find the things I don't want to see. You gotta be careful when you're living near the bone, that you don't end up growing old and dying all alone. I just watched another year slowly pass me by. Time's winged chariot has surely made me wise, and I'm still taking trips to understand my core. And I ain't learned nothing yet I didn't know before. So tell me, is this the way I'm supposed to live? Can I see the signals that the keeper gives? Is this the way I'm supposed to live? Tying things together that don't have any ends. Is this the way I'm supposed to live? Can I see the signals that the keeper gives? Is this the way I'm supposed to live? Tying things together that don't have any ends. Tying things together. Tying things together.